Next up, we have Dan Brown and Ollie Lewis from COEL. So Dan is one of the original team members of COEL. Ollie joined the COEL sales and marketing team early in 2019. So B4 members COEL provide a first-hand insight into the modern workplace, looking at the latest agile work practices that have helped to transform office culture, how these ideologies helped companies adapt quicker in the midst of a pandemic, and what does the workplace of the future look like? Dan, Ollie, or should I say Stanley maybe would be more appropriate. Completely lost on this lot. They've got no idea who Stan and Ollie are. Ollie probably doesn't know who Stan and Ollie are, but good to see you. How are you?
Very well, Richard. Thank you. And you?
Yeah, not too bad. Good to meet you, Ollie.
Good to see you. How are you doing?
You're going to be learning from a pro today.
That's it, yeah. Take notes.
So how's lockdown been for you guys?
It's been interesting, yeah. We've still been quite busy though. We've still had projects going throughout the duration. So we had an NHS project at the start of lockdown, doing some work on one of the hospitals. And then it's just been a lot of small changes as people are going back. But I think we're starting to see a lot more larger projects as well coming through.
Sort of green shoots. We're picking up jobs during the COVID period. So I think, some industries out there are still getting on with business as usual, which is great. It's a shame that there's been a bit of a reversal in sort of lockdown, etc. But I think we knew this was going to happen at some point. But we've got to crack on,
You're seeing this coming through as well, but talking to some of our business park clients, they're saying that they're seeing a lot of businesses obviously appreciating they don't need as much space now, but maybe for that budget that they had, they can look for smaller space but better quality space, or maybe sprucing up that space that they have got. Are you seeing that coming through?
Some people are just waiting to see what happens. But even if people are keeping the same numbers of people, once you go agile, you do need sort of more of the collaborative. You do need a little bit more space as well, especially if you're doing the social distancing. So it's not always an instant smaller space. It just might be having sort of more creative, sort of nicer environment to work in.
I think we'll cover it later on, but it's being smart as well about the space that you've got. So where previously you used to be able to fit, 20 people side by side on banks of desks, now with the social distancing measures, to get that same amount of people in that space, you obviously need more space. But with people working from home, it's working out, finding that interim middle ground where you have got the desk space, but also maybe more meeting space or other areas that people can go and have these team calls. As the workplace is changing now, so we have to account for all of those other measures as well.
You guys have got a presentation. The topic being wellbeing today, and Dan, you're looking very well. Been away? Or was it just the sit on mower garden tan?
He's been away.
Yeah, I did sneak out of the country for a short time.
Yeah, Daniel. Anyway, over to you guys. So you got some slides to share, right? I think
we have.
Yeah, we'll just go in.
I'll leave you to it. Come back in and ask some questions at the end.
Okay, thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to run through a case study. So Bidwell House. Now, what you can see here is a fairly traditional looking workspace. I'd like to think it's quite old-fashioned looking now, where departments worked very much in their own little groups, where there was very little working between different groups of people and departments, people coming into the office every day, doing the 9 to 5, and not having necessarily a very pleasurable environment to work in. So the objective of the project that we carried out, it was very much improving the staff experience in the office, the well-being of its staff, and what is key today as well is getting good staff joining you, but also staff retention as well. That is so important, and to enable us to to do this, we did an analysis, a workplace analysis of the office, just mapping out, people's activity, their travel activity coming into the office, what they did when they got to the office, when they were going to meetings, if they were then going out on site, where they're going to see other clients. And an office of approximately 500 people, we found that there were only about 60% of the people in the office at any one time. Now, everybody had their own desk, so you had a pretty full office, but it wasn't always utilized. So we needed to come up with a way of working, an agile way of working that improved the space, but allowed people to have a better environment without trying to increase the size of the space, but give it a better environment to work in. From the work space analysis, we used a time utilization. We mapped out a traffic light system over a space plan. Now, in an office, you have people who do different tasks, have different jobs. So you've got people in there who are in accounts or HR. They're very much office based. So they were given the red light treatment. So if you look at the plans, there's the areas where you've got the red seating. That's where you have permanent staff. Then we go to the amber. So this is people who work in departments, but they might be on site on some days or for half a day. They might be in a lot of meetings, whether it's at clients or they've got client meetings in their own office. So we need the amber, which is slightly more permanent seating, but it's fairly funky. It could be a library style benching, it could be high level tables. So when people come in, they're not sat there all day, but they've got somewhere interesting to work from. We also then have the green seating, so the green light. This is more soft seating and cubicles where people are coming in and they might just be doing a couple of hours sort of during the day before they're heading out again or before they're going into a meeting on site. There are three areas that we broke this down into. So agile working is the way, it is what we were trying to achieve. Now, to achieve this, you've got to look at the technology. Previously, you'd have workstations, workstations where there are desk-mounted telephones, you've got PCs on your desk, and it's very much fixed and geared up for you to come to work or to your place of work to carry out your work. Now, giving people mobile phones, which is pretty easy and straightforward, allowing people to have laptops, tablets, Surface Pros, and coming in for docking stations just gives people that flexibility for where they work. Now, if what we needed to do as well is increase people on different groups and departments working together. So more of a social working environment was required to allow us to have collaborative working. And what we've seen in the past, if you look at the various styles of working over the number of years, we've seen cellular working with cubicles where everybody's squirreled away in either their office or in their cubicle, where you've got zero communication between departments and collaboration. Then we moved to open plan, and again, this was great, big open plan areas, MD in their office with everybody else, fantastic groups, departments working together, but again, no privacy to do any work. So it was key in part of this to put all these styles together, having private space when required for that report writing or private calls, also having an open plan feel to allow collaboration and socializing between departments and colleagues, and having technology that allows us to do the agile working. Now, one of the brief was to make sure that we didn't go corporate. So we don't want people thinking they're with a big corporate organization, they're being flock watched or whatever. So it was important to have a high-end hospitality and residential look and feel to the space. Now, in providing this, our design team provided visuals. So these are actually 3D rendered visuals to show our client, how the space would look, how it would look, work and feel. Now, these are some images of the finished product, and as you can see, it's quite radical to how the original pictures looked. So people have got either more of the softer seating for meetings, or they can, make calls from. There's the more interesting working areas, whether it's high tables or the library-style benches. And then there are, like I said, the areas where the permanent staff work from. Now, there was a survey carried out before and after the work was done, and there was quite a big jump in the employee satisfaction compared to before the work was done. So that's great for productivity. Also, we saw a massive drop in the employment sick days as well. You've got a nicer place to work, people are happier coming in. Also, there was a benefit because of the technology we used with the lighting and heating, etc. There was a cut in the electricity costs. And again, with the technology, we saw a reduction in water costs as well. And some fairly basic and standard way of working as well. There was actually a decrease in paper shredding costs as well. So to summarize, the work that we did, the design, the brief from the client, we produced something for the client that saw a greater employee autonomy, happiness in their work, which gave improved productivity. The management bought in, so the management from the top bought into it, albeit I can say that one or two of the senior partners were a little bit dubious about how it might work, not having an office to work from. I must say, having spoken to them since, they feel it really is the way forward. And this is really, we've seen, we've seen this as a great way of working, but it's also been so instrumental in the COVID situation. I mean, these guys were already set up with mobile phones. They could work from home. They could work in an agile manner. They had more space effectively to work in. So, moving forward with what's happened at the beginning of this year, they're in a far better place to manage the business. So at this point, I'd like to pass on to Ollie, who'll be able to run through the next phase of the presentation.
Thank you, Dan. I thought it was really important to have a look back at that Bidwell House case study, because it shows the way that the workplace was moving more to an agile way of working, and some of the strategies that they've put in place have really enabled them to easily work from home. And I think we've seen the agile market just in a few months, just due to COVID and the changes that these have been implemented. Now in March, we were given the government guidance to stay at home, which saw a huge shift across to home working for those that could do so. Then back in July, we were encouraged back into the office. So here at COEL, I think like many businesses, we put strategies in place to encourage workers back in, and we were operating, with a large proportion of our workforce back in the office, whether that's on staggered rotated days or putting in different strategies to get us back in. And then we had another announcement last week, which obviously means that we're going to have to adapt again. So I just want to run through a few of the points and strategies that we've been implementing to some of our clients and also in our office to help us return to the office. We've been very lucky over the past few months to work alongside Cambridge Consultants. So for those of you who are not aware, Cambridge Consultants are a huge company here in Cambridge. They do a lot of R&D development, huge in the scientific sector as well. They work with some of the largest global companies on product development, simulation work, and they've actually come up with a simulation model for a theoretical virus, which works very well, showing the scientific side alongside the work that we're doing. So if we have a look at the graph here, you'll see that the red line shows an office. This is again a theoretical office of 100 staff within it. And this shows that with no control measures in place, on the left-hand side, we've got a very high average infection rate within that office space. But as we go down and have a look at the different variables on the right-hand side there, just implementing small changes, such as reducing numbers within meeting rooms, can actually bring that infection rate right down. From our side, actually on the front line going into these places and implementing these solutions, we've looked at 4 key areas to help create the workspaces and make sure that they are safe for staff to return to. So a big one of these is space planning. So this is looking at the space that you've already got within the office, which banks of desks can still be utilised, how can you create safe circulation routes throughout the office so you haven't got people crossing on narrow corridors or in lift spaces, and how can desks be set up so you don't have people sat opposite each other and you can still maintain that social distance 2-metre rule where possible. Graphics, these are things that we've seen across, if you go into any supermarket, restaurants now, there's graphics everywhere reminding you to, sanitize your hands, maintain a safe 2-metre rule. Again, it's almost a new normal now. We see these everywhere. So how can these be incorporated to, remind people as they return to the office what they should be doing, but also try and maintain a certain look and feel within the office rather than just putting signs up everywhere. On the product front, there's a lot of suppliers that we work with who have been very active over the COVID-19 scenario, and there's products that have been produced such as screens, custom carpet tiles, and again the graphics that can be implemented in the office to make it a safe place to return to. Mechanical updates, we have a team in-house that does all of our mechanical work, and if you are returning to an office after it being dormant for a few months, there's certain tests and checks that should be carried out on your AC systems, also your water and plumbing systems. If you've got a lab or stagnant water in your offices, you want to make sure that these haven't been stagnant too long and they are safe to use once your staff do return. So here's a quick example of a space planning option that we've done. This is a typical office where you've got your banks of desks laid out, you've got communal touchdown areas as well as ad hoc meeting spaces. So where you've got a 4 bank of desks, in order to maintain that 2-metre rule, there's certain things that we've put in place where you haven't got people sat opposite each other, staggering the desks as well, so you haven't got all the desks used all the time throughout the week, so putting in place a rota, so you've got different staffing on different days. On the graphics side, there's so many options out there, but these are some that we've felt have been really effective. So reminding staff to only use your own equipment. These graphics can be stuck on the desks. You've also got a do not use sign that can be stuck on desks that maintain that 2-metre distance between desks. Wait here signs. So these are in reception areas where you've got clients coming from outside the office, just reminding them where is a safe place to stand. And sanitisation points. We've got one in our office that as soon as you come in, you go there, you clean your hands, and then you're safe to walk into the office. On the product front as well, so screens are a solution that is very easy to implement, very quick, and it's not destructive. We're seeing these rolled out a lot across offices where large workforces are coming back. It's not always possible to maintain that 2-metre rule on the desks if you have to fit a certain amount of people in. So these screens do create more of a modular environment where people can have their safe space at their own desk. A lot of these screens as well, they're very easy to clip onto existing desks and also onto your central divider screens that run through the spine of the desks there as well. Acoustic booths, we're seeing a lot of uptake in these over the past few years where you do have these large open space collaborative offices. So you can have freestanding meeting rooms or phone booths where people can go to have a private call or a small meeting away from that open plan space. I think we're going to see a huge uptake in these moving forward as well, with the addition of a lot more video calls, so team calls or video calls. It's not always realistic to have these in an open plan office, so it's giving your staff these different areas where they can go to and still get that space and quiet that they need for these type of calls. the fabric side, we did a lot with furniture manufacturers as well. So we don't want to take away all of these nice colours or nice look and feels that we've been implemented into modern offices over the years. So they've been working very hard to get easy to clean fabrics that still maintains that nice look and finish, but is easy to wipe down at the end of the day, can be implemented as part of your cleaning strategy, and just make sure that we are managing that spread of the virus. Hand sanitisation stations, it's not easy to say, but these are everywhere. If you go into any supermarket, again, any public spaces, you're going to have these hand sanitisation pumps. These aren't going to disappear anywhere soon, so how can we incorporate these into the design, actually make them more of a feature? You've got hands-free options as well, which is just a bit more of a clean version rather than using the hand pump itself. Milliken's a carpet supplier that we deal with quite a lot. They've been, again, very good at reacting to the COVID scenario. So rather than having the graphics just stuck onto desks, these are a bit more of a permanent fixture where it looks very good. You can just pop out your carpet tiles that are in the office at the moment, swap them out for any of these options, and it still has that guidance and some of the instructions on there for the staff to follow. Once we do go back to normality, these can just be popped out and the original carpet tiles returned. So it's as long as you need them for, really, and offers you that flexibility. Here's a few office mock-ups that we've put together. So as you can see here, you've got the circulation route throughout the breakout space, so you haven't got people passing in the narrower areas. Also highlighting where you can go to clean your hands, and you've got the 2 metre safe distancing transfers on the floor. And here's a traditional desk area. So we've actually extended the screens in the middle there with the Perspex screens that have been attached to your standard screens down at the bank of desks. And again, it's just reminding people only use your own equipment. So just to summarise quickly then, return to workplace, even with the latest guidelines, I still think that we're going to see people that have to be in the office. And there's certain industries as well that can't always work from home. So it's just making sure that staff feel safe, highlighting it so people do remember the guidelines when they do return to the office.
Sorry,
if we just look back, house, which Dan you're on in the presentation, here are some of the strategies that they've implemented. So where they've got staircases that run right the way through the floors of the building, it's allocating certain staircases to an up staircase, others to down, so you don't have people crossing in those tight areas. Also T-points and print stations, reminding people to wait 2 metres back before they go into those confined spaces. This is their reception and concierge area. They've also got a nice social cafe on the ground floor there as part of the office. So again, it's just reminding people these are your safe places to stand and wait when you have clients coming into the office. My email address is ollie.lewis@coel.uk.com. Any questions, we've got our contact details there. Feel free to send them through to hello@coel.uk.com and we'll pick it up. We can send through these slides as well. But post-COVID, we're really looking at, there's certain industries that aren't able to work from home. So even with the new guidance, work from home when you can. Companies that, in retail or hospitality where they're public facing, they don't have that flexibility to work from home. We still need to put certain measures in place so that they can work safely from home, from the office or their workplace. But also, COVID is just one element of our own health. So we also need to have a look at our staff well-being and mental health. I know for me personally, being in the office and being surrounded by my peers and being able to have those ad hoc conversations, it's very good for me. It also sparks different conversations, for the business side as well. So although we've been proven that working from home does work for certain industries, I think there's always going to be a need for the workplace, but it's perhaps not going to look as it is now. People aren't going to have fixed desks. It's going to be more of a collaboration space where people can come into and use it as more of a touchdown area.
So any questions, do go onto our website. So it's coel.uk.com, and Ollie and I are on there, or anybody else in our department. So do get in contact if you need any more info. Thank you.
Appreciate it. No, thanks for your time, both of you, and we'll hopefully see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.